This is Uncle Ruckus. No relation. I'm a very spiritual person. I start out each day thanking the man for the sunrise, for the land I walk on, for the air I breathe, and for this show, the era of Reconstruction.
So glad to have you to the New Journey podcast. www.newjourneypack.org. Again, that's www.newjourneypack.org. So glad to have on board with the venerable, the always, your main host who will return next week, Daren Williams. And now, for the one and only, the Right Honorable Defender of the Faith and the Rights of the Same, the Venerable A.J. Swinson.
Hello.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, James Golden, the executive producer, all-around great guy of the Rush Limbaugh program. Again, you may donate at www.newjourneypack.org. All right. I think we're all good now, Daren.
Oh, fantastic. Good to be here. Good to be with you. And great that everyone is tuning in. Listen, I just want to say something real quick. And I want to say that I'm very happy that President Trump took my advice. I said, listen, guy, we were talking over the phone. And I said, listen, I need you to go back to the White House. The American people need you to go back to the White House. I said, even though Autry is going to be very upset with you, you need to go back to the White House. I'll smooth it out with Autry a little bit later on, buy him a new suit or whatever the case may be. But I'm very happy.
I don't know why you put my name up in that.
Daren's going to do all this for free.
Angela was the one who said...
We were talking about optics, wisdom, but here we are. So
by the way, it's October 6th, 2020. I forgot to put that in the intro. October 6th, 2020. I will say I'm not sure how it's playing out. I do know some analysts are saying it's playing well with a few people. One of the analysts I read, who's he's objective as you can get. He's saying it's playing well, and speaking of that, by the way, we're going to talk about today how Trump is handling COVID. We're going to get into the only thing we have to fear is fear itself in the first inaugural address of FDR. We're going to try to get to the GOP winning against the Democratic approach on black votes, the Black Platinum Plan, Trump's Black Platinum Plan for America, and it's all about the money, honey. So we got a lot to get to on today. But going back to what I was saying before is you've got about a 60-40 split. Some analysts are saying that Daren was right, that it's playing a little bit better in middle rural Wisconsin, rural Pennsylvania. In some of the areas where some of the voters were waffling maybe just a little bit. And then obviously you have some other commentators that's saying it may not have really made a difference at all. Daren?
Well, I think it made a big difference. And I think the big difference it made was that the left immediately jumped on President Trump when he came out that he had COVID-19. And, a lot of people, they were posting, well, hopefully this guy will die. It's the end of his presidency. Joe Biden has gotten in the bag. I mean, basically, they were basically giving this guy a memorial service. And I think that was a bit unnerving just to the normal citizen to say, you know what, maybe we should be rallying behind him to say, hey, listen, we want you to get better. This is our president, even though this might not be the president we want. Just like, I wouldn't want Obama to be in the same situation. But
that's true.
The Democrats, the liberals, always have an innate ability to overjump the gun and to really be the party, as they say, of compassion and love and understanding and acceptance. They show the reverse.
Unless you own a small business and they burn it down.
Those people, right. So there you go. So those people that are on the fence, as they call the rational ones, when they see stuff like this, they're like, oh my God. I mean, Yeah, this guy could have been on his deathbed. So I think it works very well. The American Spectator has a great article that illustrates that by David Catron. It's the Democratic bile will reelect Trump, and he talks about that. He talks about how the independents see the nastiness of liberals, and they're like, whoa, this is pretty intense here. Why would I want to get with a party that thinks like this? So that seems to be the case.
That does seem to be the case. Is there any new anecdotal thing that anybody else has been looking at since the president sort of landed in Marine One and tweeted out, "Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it rule your life"? I know a lot of commentators are out there saying, "Oh, he's lying. He's really, really sick." I guess the biggest, holy mackerel.
What?
I guess the biggest.
You got to tell us what you're talking about.
Right.
Holy mackerel.
Holy mackerel! Someone just sent me a text about a change in our meeting schedule. Give us, I know, right? Give us about 3 seconds.
Or something.
Listen, I love you guys, but I gotta go. So Angela's gonna go. We're gonna take about 15 seconds. And Angela's going to get behind the board. Her and Daren are going to check it up and finish the podcast together. Daren, you're just going to have to hold on a moment because this is unplanned. This is what you get in New Journey.
Oh, my God.
This is what you get when you get black folks running stuff. This is not planned. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Is somebody going to come after me? I'm kidding.
Right.
One of our soon-to-be sponsors of the podcast has asked me they asked me an hour ago, but because I was trying to set this thing up, because we had taken it down because we had a staff meeting yesterday, they asked me to meet them early, which means I need to leave in like 7 minutes to be at their place on time because it's an hour from here.
What were we going to talk about? It's all about the money, honey.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of that, New Journey is sponsored by you. www.newjourneypack.org, newjourneypack.org. We are sponsored by you. All the great work, all the great commercials we're doing, the candidate interventions, Trump interventions, all the things we do to move black people out of the blue column to the red column is funded by people like you. And
Absolutely.
So it's in that spirit, I've got to leave and go talk to one of our potential podcast sponsors. Give us about 25, 30 seconds. And you'll be back with the venerable AJ Swinson and Daren Williams.
All right, so this is my podcast for a little bit while Autry gets this set up, which is good practice because I am starting my own podcast next week, which will be launching, and it will be called, thanks to Autry's marketing genius, Millennial Politics. So this is a good opportunity for me to put that in front of you guys. Be aware that that will be coming. And it'll basically be an opportunity for me to talk to millennials about politics. I think a lot of young people don't really understand the way that things work. You know, I get into arguments on Twitter about free markets, about capitalism, about the importance of the Electoral College. And it's like, you know what? Someone needs to really go into this and talk about this. This is not a Twitter debate. This needs to be a podcast episode. So I thought I need to do this. Autry and I were at an event also and one of the donors came up. Oh, here we got Daren coming.
Is he on? Is he, can you hear him?
It's ringing.
Oh, it's ringing. You can hear it. So you should pick up.
Oh,
Hi, Daren.
Hello.
Welcome back.
hey, AJ.
Hey. So, Daren, you're going to have to help me with this road doohickey.
Okay.
Right.
For now.
Listen, did you? Okay. So, what do you? Are we?
We're on the. We're still on.
Yet?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the record on right now.
Yes, it's red. We never actually stopped.
Yeah, you couldn't.
I got
press
to
the
take
pause
some
button.
time.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
that's what should have. I got to plug my upcoming podcast. Audrey named it today, Millennial Politics.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Fantastic.
Yeah, not conservative sister girl, though I am considering that as a subtitle. Thank you, Daren.
There you go. Listen. You're not just gonna have millennials on there. You're gonna have older women listening in there, and you get,
Oh yeah.
You gotta what they say. You gotta tailor it to your audience. So you gotta mix the old and the new with it, the fresh and the stale. Well, you don't want to call older people stale, but you get what I'm saying.
I do.
There was one thing I wanted to get back to what Audrey mentioned about the anecdotal nature, and of course the media is mostly leftist, and you have them really bashing him for what he said or what he tweeted and what he said in the video, which was in the Hill.com, about not being afraid and not letting COVID dominate your life. And then you got what's the guy, Captain America, Chris Evans, rips Trump a new one, and then you got Michelle Obama, that does the same thing. But as Audrey mentioned, only thing we have to fear is fear itself, and that was FDR, and that was back in the early 30s in his inauguration. And basically what was going on was the Great Depression, where people were dying by the thousands, starvation, people were digging holes to find water. America was in a period where basically everyone thought that America was going to go under. And here you had FDR stood up there and told the American people, not to fear, that fear is the thing that paralyzes you, and that it causes you not to advance forward, but to retreat. And so when we look at what FDR said during that time, and it was a lot worse back then than it is now. I mean, we didn't have the advanced medicine. We didn't have the technology. We couldn't necessarily FaceTime each other or Zoom each other. And, there were perilous times. And so if we're applauding FDR by saying that, and here's Trump saying this pretty much the same thing as FDR said, stop being consumed by fear. And it's easy to be, because the media has been portraying it as this is apocalyptic. One false move and we're all done. The whole world, not just America. But the thing is that what Trump said was very necessary to prove that we're still on top. And so I think it's very appropriate what he did, and I think it's very appropriate, and I know you guys are gonna beat me up on it, but I think it's very appropriate for him to go back to the office. I mean, business as usual. Even though people are getting sick, and you have 210,000 people that have died. Unfortunately, you got millions of other people who have died of other things. So, and the world doesn't stop. So that's my spiel in reference to President Trump and the way he's handling this virus, this COVID.
Well, I think
that
this is going to be something that Trump supporters love, and that Democrats will use as yet another way that he's not taking the virus seriously. On the conservative side, I saw a lot of, and this is a tweet from Kelly Loeffler. She said, Real Donald Trump has shown he's a fighter and a winner. He fought the Russian hoax and won. He fought the sham impeachment and won. Now he's fighting the virus and he's still winning. I'm proud to stand with our president to keep delivering results that lift all Americans up. So, very tweetable. This is something that I think will be good for the base. A lot of Trumpers will say, yeah, this is awesome. But I think a lot of what we've been talking about is, will this win people over? Will this win the people that, may not have decided? Who knows if there are many of those, but, getting the base riled up who are already going to vote for you. I mean, I guess that's good. And I get what you're saying with the FDR quote. Experiencing what they were experiencing economically, it went over into so many other different things, like he was saying, poverty, starvation, etc. He was encouraging them to rebuild. But I do think that this is, there's a reason why there is some fear behind this. Now, of course, as, believer, I believe that, we need to.
It's the unknown.
Right. This is a different type of thing. We don't know. People are still understanding how you get it, where it comes from, how to prevent it, how to protect yourself from it. So there's that unknown that's beyond, hunger, beyond, wondering when the economy will get back together, because we're also having economic issues on top of that. So, this is a compounded issue that I think you can't just say, don't fear it. You have to, I think it could have been a little bit more substantive to show people, I had the best doctors and I want to make sure you have the best doctors too. And you have the best healthcare too.
Well, it's actually, if you watch the video that he did, the 1 minute and 25 second video that
I did watch that.
He encouraged people. He said, listen, okay. He encouraged people. He said, we're coming out with the best treatments for you, and it shortly, and it's great medicine. It's revolutionary medicine, and it's going to help you a lot. I think back during the Great Depression, it was worse, because I think people had pretty much the same idea. I mean, the Great Depression was affecting everybody. It just wasn't affecting 200,000 people or 7 million people. I mean, it was affecting all of America. Unemployment was about 25%. What is our unemployment right now? About 7-8%? So, and then those people were in a situation where it was unknown what was going to happen. And they were looking to the government to help them. I think this is less of a threat than what the Great Depression was. And of course, we weren't alive during the Great Depression. All we know are stories. I go back to this thing is that when we looked at 2009 with the H1N1, and how basically that wasn't even addressed. It was like, oh, that's nothing. And that was a major thing. But we passed over it, we went through it, and, there wasn't really an issue. I think this thing, as we know, has been politicized so much, and people have been browbeaten into fearing this thing that, you got the CDC now saying that it's an airborne virus. The CDC changes like almost every month, every week, or every 2 days, or whatever the case might be. I mean, there's an article in The Hill where the CDC says it can spread through airborne transmission. It says, let me read a little bit of it for you. The Centers for Disease, this is The Hill, thehill.com. And the article is, the CDC says coronavirus can spread through airborne transmission. It says the Center for Disease Control and Prevention said Monday that coronavirus can spread through airborne transmission to people who are more than 6 feet away under certain conditions. Okay, what are those certain conditions? At once we were told, oh, you just gotta separate from 6 feet, or you gotta wear the mask. None of this is scientifically proven, ladies and gentlemen. This is basically trying to fly the plane as you're building it.
And with any pandemic, that's kind of what it's been difficult for everyday people, right? Because the CDC will say something and we're not exactly sure, right? Now, I don't necessarily enjoy wearing a mask.
Sure.
Well, we there's so little that we're sure of. That's exactly why people have fear. That's exactly why people aren't, Trump's getting tested every day. He has, access to all these different things. that a lot of, everyday regular people do not have access to. I don't know if
Well, this is the thing.
Do I have it? Am I asymptomatic? Am I passing it to people and not knowing? Like, these are the type of questions people are walking around living with every day.
Well, I think in general, people know that this, the Wuhan flu, the Chinese virus, COVID-19 affects people that are older than people who have pre-existing conditions.
Which is 6 out of 10 Americans.
That COVID does not affect those that are of a younger generation and that are most likely healthy. All right. Now that's not 100% across the board either way, but we do know that a good healthy person, one that monitors their health, whether I don't know what those things might be, but a good healthy person most likely will not catch it, and if they do, they're going to be asymptomatic. Now, passing it on to someone else, okay, yes, that might be different, but we can do the necessary things, putting people in certain locations that will prevent, the spread of it. So, but the point is that what we've done, or what the media has done, they've made this thing as like a death sentence. Like, as soon as you get, no matter who you are, whether you're young or old, as soon as you get it, you're going to drop dead. And that was the narrative when Trump got it. He's going to drop dead. We need to put him in the obituary.
Yeah.
So, and
like,
even
yay,
with
Nancy
this
Pelosi
thing right here, it says the new
might be our president if Mike Pence gets it too. So I saw people saying that
exactly.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go back to, I think what's going on here is that they're very upset that basically he got the drugs that were needed for him to get better. There's an amazing thing, and Audrey and I have spoken about this, and I've spoken about this to a number of people, and they agree. The unique thing about President Trump, which was much different from Obama, and this has nothing to do with policies or politics, President Trump does not drink. He does not smoke. The people in Washington and D.C. are alcoholics.
Okay.
President Trump
is
does not
probably
drink. He does
far
not smoke.
more
He doesn't have
unhealthy
pre-existing
than
conditions.
Obama.
Well, yeah, Obama was a smoker, and they made one or two comments about that, and they just pass it on. Oh, don't worry about his smoking. That doesn't have anything to do with his policies. Okay, well, fine. If that's the case, then Trump's health really doesn't have anything to do with his policies. So stop nagging the man. And so like, I go back to this thing. The man he's a different beast. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. So that right there, he's ahead of the curve to begin with. So. But, the left is not going to give him any credit with that when that's so.
Well, according to, what was that Bob Woodward book about how he loves McDonald's and how he he doesn't eat vegetables? Who knows if that's true, but it's relatively believable. Well, but I think we're all happy to see him.
You know why he loves McDonald's? Do you know the story as to why, this is insider baseball. Do you know why he loves fast food restaurants? Like particularly McDonald's, is because, for people that are billionaires or people that are world leaders or whatever, they prefer to eat fast food because it can't be tampered with. So they go through the drive-through and then basically the food is prepared for any and everybody. And so the food is not tampered with, as opposed to going to a restaurant, sitting down in a restaurant, and there's Trump over there. Oh, okay, let me go into the back restaurant. Not to say that they would tamper with his food, but the likelihood of it happening at a fast food restaurant is much better than at a regular restaurant. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say at least he prefers the fish sandwiches, which you could do worse. I get what you're saying. I do think that this was highly politicized, and what did we expect? The media, or at least the legacy media, as Audrey would say, they don't like Trump, and they as soon as he got elected, they've been going out of their way to take him down. And like I said, this is going to be another point for them to show that he's not taking the lives of other people seriously. He's going to be back in the White House. 18 people that have been to recent events at the White House have contracted the coronavirus, included Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary and her 2 deputies. So this is going to continue to be a story, whoever else contracts it, as we were saying before. For me, I'm relatively neutral about this. I'm happy, of course, that seems to be doing well. I wonder if it's too soon, for his health. He is an older man. So I am hoping that the worst is behind him, and that he continues to do better. Especially if he's going to continue to hit the campaign trail. After I got the flu for the first time this year in December. I had never gotten the flu before, but I was a teacher at the time, and students are the nastiest people on earth, which is why I'm not a supporter of students returning to school. But I got the flu, and it was horrible.
But you still love your students, right?
I love them, but I don't want their nasty, dirty germs. And but I remember even when I came back to work, I was tired. I wasn't at 100% for probably another 2 to 3 weeks. So, I hope that him rushing through this recovery, and I'm 27 and healthy. 29 and healthy, sorry. So I'm hoping that him, leaving so soon and really pushing through this recovery doesn't hurt him in the long run or slow him down too much.
Right. No, listen, I understand your concern for his health. I go back to this thing. He is a different beast. I mean, when you look at 2016, when he was doing these rallies, he was doing 2 to 3 rallies a day. I mean, that's incredible. Standing there, having a great time, talking to people. Even now, he doesn't get 8 hours of sleep like we all dream about doing, but he gets his necessary sleep, and he's moving, he's cooking. And I think that's a kind of a driving force for him. I think the aspect of moving and shaking and being in the White House and accomplishing things, I think that is a drug for him. I mean, it's a natural drug. It's a high, and that keeps him going. And I think that's probably a large reason why he said, "Listen, I need to get back to doing what I do because this is who I am. This energizes me. It gives me a lot of pleasure and satisfaction." And I think what ends up happening at the end of the day, I think we have this tendency of comparing other people to ourselves. And okay, in general, maybe that can be done. But when you look at Trump and when you look at how he's a machine, he keeps on going, and how, like you said, I mean, these things just bounce off of him. You just wind them up and let them go. And I think that's a big frustration for the media as well, because like you said, all this stuff, whether it's Russian collusion, whether it's Stormy Daniels, whether it's Avenatti, whether it's his tax returns, and this COVID thing, nothing affects him. It's like the man is bulletproof. He's a Teflon Don. So the base loves it, and I think when independents look at it, they like, this man, there's something unique about him. There's something really unique about him. So he's just being Trump. I think that's where it is. He's just being Trump. The big thing is this, I think, if it affects anyone, as far as him being able to, this coronavirus just basically bouncing off of him, I want to say that it could affect how Black Americans, because we've been brainwashed to believe that the coronavirus is racist and that it only affects Black people. And so when Trump, being an Anglo-Saxon, white male.
Wait, what? We've been brainwashed to think what? Wait, what?
I knew this would spark the interest. No.
Yes.
So, going back a couple of months, we heard all these op-eds or polls or whatever, that the coronavirus was disproportionately affecting Blacks.
Infecting.
And it wasn't affecting the white man, or wasn't affecting white people. And so, it's another piece of ammo.
It is affecting Black people infecting Black people at a higher rate.
What'd you say?
It is infecting Black people at a higher rate.
Well, yes, and I think that has everything to do with pre-existing conditions. And even Fauci said that when he was talking to, what's the guy, the actor, the black actor, Jada Pinkett's husband. What's his name?
Will Smith.
Will Smith. Smith. Yeah, Will Smith. And so, the comorbidity rate for blacks is a lot higher than other races. But my point being is that, and I'm not trying to give any ammo to the radical left when it comes to racism or whatever the case might be, but they can jump up and say, hey, use that as a campaign slogan. You see, what we were saying is absolutely true. Blacks are dying at an alarming rate, but here you have a white man, and basically it fell off of him, and so this thing is positioned for black people. I mean, listen, these guys on the left, they're morbid, so they'll say anything.
I don't get that one. I hope that anyone would immediately hear that and reject that. I haven't necessarily seen that.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I'm just, listen, crazier things have been said, so I wouldn't put that by them. Trust me. Okay. You heard it here first. Watch. A couple of days and it might be out there. What's the guy, Eugene Robinson of the Washington Post? Yeah, he's I guess a race writer in the Washington Post. I mean, he blasts Trump all the time about so-called racism. So, I think what needs to happen, in transitioning to something that affects Black Americans is that Republicans need to really push to get that Black vote. They really do. They really do. So
yeah, and you sent that article about the Texas Democrats. This media ad buy $500,000 that the Democratic Party of Texas took out for print, digital, and audio spots. And this is they're gonna play these ads from now up until November 3rd. And it's gonna encourage early voting, basically. And here, I wanna read something that their party vice chair said. She said, for far too long, Black voters have been taken for granted. And investment in our community has been out of reach and difficult to come by. We will invest and fight for every vote because we know when we engage our communities, we win. President Trump and Greg Abbott, the governor, fear that, and Republicans fear what will happen if Black voters exercise our power in this state. So it's kind of like this assumption that all Democrats have to do is get Blacks out to vote, and it's going to scare Republicans. It's almost as if there's no Black vote. You could be getting out the vote and Black Republicans vote. Did you ever think about that? Or is that not even an assumption?
True. Well, this is the funny thing. When you read her statement again, she says, for far too long, Black voters have been taken for granted and investment in their community has been out of reach and difficult to come by. One is, the Black vote is supposed to be, locked up by the Democrats. So if that's the case, and the Democrats have been taking Blacks for granted. I mean, I don't know, is she projecting here?
Right.
Because this is the thing. Democrats have always said, "Oh no, we support the Black vote. We're going to do everything for them. We're working hard. We're doing all this." And so basically, it would be the Democrats that are taking advantage of the Black vote, thinking that Blacks are just going to vote Black. I mean, the way she turns this thing around is absolutely hilarious. But with that being said, it does not negate the fact that Republicans need to take a stand and need to go out there and really woo the Black vote, because it is a powerful vote. It really is.
Right. Where's the Republican money for these Black states? As what New Journey PAC is trying to do with the messaging and the ads that we're doing, we want to push them out. We know that they're relevant. We know that they'll do well in these communities. And we want to push them out. And it's like especially Republicans at the top, the establishment is just like, do we really need to do that? Trump's base is fired up. I feel like on both sides, this is like the J.C. Watts quote. Democrats take for granted that they're going to get the Black vote. Republicans say, the Democrats are going to get the Black vote, so why even try? So that's pretty frustrating
I agree
for
with
us.
you on that. And you know what? And we're talking about Texas here, and we just want to throw a shout out. There's a gentleman that's running
Right.
in the 30th district, Dr. Trey Penny, who's a conservative, and I've heard that he is running into that situation of funding. And I think, you know, you hit the nail on the head. You're right that Democrats automatically think, oh, the blacks are going to vote for us, and Republicans are like, well, why should we waste our money and our time because blacks are going to vote for Democrats. Now, listen, I'm not a person to say that Republicans need to act like Santa Claus. I think it behooves blacks to learn conservative principles first and foremost. And even if Republicans don't support or come out to black areas, conservatism is the way for blacks to go in order for them to move forward, not just in the economic ladder, but in the social ladder, you know, in the family ladder. I mean, every aspect of conservatism moves an individual, a family, and a nation forward. And liberalism, I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I sent Audrey and AJ this funny clip last night of a Zoom school meeting or whatever the case may be. And it was of a black teacher, and she had 3 black students. Now, I don't know if this was real or if it was a joke, but, you know, when you look at inner city schools, and particularly black areas dominated by black Democrats who basically closed down those schools, the schools are bad enough, but to have these kids on Zoom attempting to learn, and this is all Democrat policy, this is what Democrats wanted to do, it sets them back. It truly sets them back. School choice would have been much better for them, or private school would have been much better for them. And Democrats, because they take the black vote for granted and thinking, oh, blacks are going to vote for us, this is what they give you in return. This is exactly what they give you in return. So, you know, you're speaking about that article that Democrats are making that $500,000 push on ads to basically continue to keep blacks handicapped. And I don't want to use on the plantation. I'm not looking to make those suggestions, but keep blacks handicapped. And depending on the government, they're taking it very seriously. They are. And
at the end of the day, both parties.
That's just what it is.
At the end of the day, both parties only care about political power. And, well, at least that's their number one priority. Just like a business's number one priority is profit. Now, should they care about their customers? Of course. Should they hear out what their customers want? Of course. It benefits them. So, to me, you know, I do fault the GOP for... You know, our founder, James Golden, talks about how the GOP used to be in his neighborhood, but they packed up and left, you know, when they didn't think they could win there anymore. So I think that we've got to have more of a forward-thinking strategy.
His neighborhood when he was growing up, right?
When he was growing up in New York. So we've got to have more of a forward-thinking strategy. We've got to think of the future. That's why I'm excited about launching my podcast, because I've actually had older people come up to me and say, you know, I'm really worried about my daughter. She's on social media. She's seeing all this stuff about liberals, these, you know, dangerous open society ideas, which is the larger philosophical idea behind it. And they're worried. They're like, my kids, you know, I've raised them conservatively, but they're growing up and they're going out and, you know, completely leaving behind the principles that made me successful so that I could provide for them. So, you know, the Texas GOP is betting that if they can get a bit of the black vote out, that will help push forward Joe Biden and their local Democrats running. And this is why it's so important that we look at these margins. These margins that you can get of the black vote, of the Hispanic vote, of different voting blocks are so important. And at New Journey PAC, when we're going around and we're talking to people and we're saying, you know, Ron DeSantis brought out 150,000 black women to vote for him because Autry and, you know, the people he were working with did a campaign on school choice. And, you know, people would be shocked by that. Like, what? You brought out black women to vote for a Republican? Yes, when their needs aligned, when you communicated to them, when you messaged to them, when you met with them, they voted. It's not rocket science. Black people are not bamboozled. You have to reach them just like you would any other demographic, and that's not happening. And you do not be a victim. Right. It's not something someone's doing to you. You just need to get out there and do the work.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true. The Republican message has to be 24/7, and that's what we at New Journey PAC aim to do. We're not a every 2 year or every 4 year type of PAC. We want to be in your neighborhood, helping you grow, not just financially, but all aspects. And this is something like I go back to what I'm saying is that the conservatism, whether Republicans embrace minorities need to strongly consider conservative values as just their platform, period. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, the family structure is the most important thing, and that's the thing that's going to really move an individual forward and to save them. But what we're talking about here is we're talking about supporting financially a PAC, New Journey PAC, that is very concerned about the future of not just Black Americans but America in general. And we're aiming, with AJ, with the podcast show you're about to come out with our podcast right here, and the things that we're doing, we're aiming to accomplish those things. I mean, in grand fashion. So, very exciting times. Very exciting times. So,
other exciting things
go back
too.
To this thing, it's all about the money.
Right. Another exciting aspect too is the Platinum Plan.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the Black conservatives on Twitter were just like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. This matters so much. And I think that for a long time, conservatives had this idea that in order to avoid identity politics, we need to kind of ignore identity as a whole. Mm-hmm. And so there's like, oh, we're doing things for everyone. And even this is not something just on the Republican side. This is something Democrats do too, by the way. When Kamala asked, do you have a Black agenda? And she's like, what, do you expect me to do something just for Black people? And she laughed. She's like, working on these things helps everyone. And so when Bernie Sanders was asked, what are you planning for, African Americans? He wouldn't even answer his answer didn't even contain Black or African American. He totally dodged that question.
The pot stuff he's doing for Black Americans.
Whenever he was asked, and this is why people were saying he didn't do as well, because he refused to really say how he would say how this is good for everybody. So this is not something that people can say, oh, Republicans just no. Democrats don't want to focus on Black people. Black people are not their main focus anymore. You'll see them spending $500,000 like this when they think they absolutely need it at the very last minute, like they're doing. So this is something both political parties have an issue with. Barack Obama, you want me to do something just for Black people? What do we get? At the end of 8 years, he started his, the Organization for Young Black Men. My Brother's Keeper.
Yeah, Promise Keeper. Yeah. Okay.
That was what we got from having a Democrat Black president, by the way. So the Platinum Plan, I'm excited about this. I wrote about this. I want to actually write another article focusing on the safety and justice portion. But the pillars are opportunity, security, prosperity, and fairness. And so basically, economic power is political power. That's not something that's contested. Pretty much anyone you'll read will say that. So his focus, the majority of this is focusing on economic empowerment and access to capital. Now, some of this is a little bit similar to what Joe Biden had in his plan, but Trump doesn't go so far as to create, ridiculous bureaucracies. He's saying, let's build on what's already here and just increase access to African Americans. A lot of African Americans may not even know this is available to them. So increasing, So just making sure people know this program is here. Education is a major focus, school choice, tax credits for childcare. These are major things that will help Black families. And I love that he also recognized the special role of Black churches and, just wanting to include them in different things that the government is doing locally. How important is that? Because lately, the left had really been making it seem like if you support anything pro-God, you can't participate in what we're doing in the community. So that's a major
They want government
thing.
to be God.
Right. I want to point out also that there was, we cannot forget the economic growth that President Trump's, the policies that he instituted, removing regulations and things like that, the explosive growth it brought to the Black community, including a rise in household income, especially in Black metropolitan areas. So hopefully, I wrote the op-ed on this. Hopefully, when this goes live, we'll be able to share where it's been placed. But yeah, I was impressed by his platinum plan, and I'm excited about this and the hope for 4 more years.
Well, good. Yeah, and I've been reading up on it. The $500 billion investment. The only concern that I have is, as always, government should not be someone's daddy or someone's husband, and people should be rugged individualists. And I would like for the plan to make sure that it has people looking to become independent from the government. That's the only issue that I could see government intervention having to where it cripples people. But hopefully this plan will not have that aspect in it to where people start to think, okay, well, we're moving from the Democrats providing for us, and so we're going to move to the Republicans providing for us. So, but I applaud him for this particular plan and how he wants, like you said, how he wants to increase the access of capital to really fuel and grow Black-owned businesses, as well as cut taxes and increase educational opportunities. So it's just good stuff. It really is.
Yeah, I think when you read Joe Biden's plan, you see the reverse. You see more bureaucracy, this more of this. And a lot of what you see in the Platinum Plan are just common sense things that you can do to make things more fair. Only 4% of small business owners are Black. So if you want to increase capital, what's one way to do that? You can help people improve their credit scores. So, including rent, utility, phone bill payments to help them build up their credit. Different things like that isn't necessarily, here's $5,000 a month. It's just, if you pay your phone bill, your utility bill, if you do some of these basic things, let's make it so that can help your credit. Help you rebuild your credit if your credit isn't good enough for you to get the investment that you want. If you're a business owner that has a good idea and you've been rejected, here's how we can help you to build up your credit. So next time, you'll have a better chance. I like the investment into research on diseases that are unique to African Americans. A lot of people don't know there are certain things that afflict African Americans or similar to any different race or ethnicity. So sickle cell anemia is something that's unique to Black people. I know a set of twins who struggle with this, as well as maternal mortality. The rate of Black women dying in childbirth is still too high. So investing in research and medicine and local healthcare centers, run by the community, that's not big government. That's what the government does when we see an issue. We can invest in it to prevent it. Just like what people are doing with the opioid epidemic or anything else. We see a problem, let's look into it. That's all that is.
Right. Well, he's definitely on the right track. And I go back to this thing with Audrey. We go back and forth with the polls. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to the polls, but I'm very skeptical of them because, like we said, everything has been politicized, and so you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. But what Trump is doing, everything he's promised, he's come through with it. He's been actually solving other people's promises, past presidents. So,
right.
I like I said, like he always says, we're winning big league, and so he's constantly winning big league. I really believe that. But so we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely see how it goes. But this is a great thing to really, I guess, let people know constantly how much this president loves this country. And I go back to that and I say it over and over again. President Trump has a desire for everyone to be at the level and enjoy life as he has enjoyed it, in the sense that of all of his accomplishments. He loves the country. He wants everyone to experience that love, as well as that ability to be a prosperous and constructive citizen to America. And so I think everything that he does, everything he says it resonates with that. So I don't have a problem with the man. I mean,
right.
But yeah,
I'd rather investment in people and business and education than, the colloquial handout idea. Like, let's focus on helping people build up their businesses and helping them hire and access credit and do all these different things, that rather than saying, oh, they don't have this, so we need to give them this.
Yep, very true. Very true. Yep. So on that note, have we reached the hour mark?
We basically are. We're at 51 minutes and 30 seconds.
Did you want to sing for the audience the next 9 minutes? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, AJ has a beautiful voice.
Y'all gonna have to pay me.
You gotta clear your throat. But what we want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that, like we said, we're very excited about this coming up election. You're going to hear a lot of things. That President Trump is doing this, he's doing that. He's not, he's not being sound in his decision making. For the past 4 years plus, President Trump has proven himself over and over and over and over again. Now, granted, I was telling the story, and I'll share with you, AJ. I was telling the story where I was talking to a neighbor, and he says, I like what President Trump is doing, but he's so crass. I mean, the things that he says, it grades on me. And I said, listen, take, for example, you had a plumber. And this guy came in, the first plumber, you had a plumbing problem. This guy comes in. Very nice outfit he has on. He talks the plumber language, and he articulates great, and he looks good. And he talks about your pipes, and, he uses all the great terminology. And he gets down there, and he basically messes up your pipes. I mean, just totally destroys it. I mean, he doesn't know what he's doing. He makes a complete disaster of the thing, and then he blames you for the disaster that he made, and then you just get rid of him. Well, the next guy comes in, and the guy is, he's got a 10 o'clock shadow, whatever the case may be. He's talking very foul. He talks about his girlfriend that he slept with. He's using curse words. He smells like liquor. And then he goes into the process of telling you half-wittingly what's wrong. But then he gets down there and he fixes your pipes. And while he's doing that, he even points out some other things, and he addresses those things.
And does it in record time.
Would you prefer to have?
Right.
And the point is, now Trump is not that bad in the sense of his presentation, but the point is, as long as you get the person that's going to do the job right, I think that is the main focus. And that's what we have in the White House today. We have a gentleman he's a New Yorker. He's going to pick up a brick. He's going to pick up a sign. He's going to pick up anything that's around him to fight. He's not a conventional fighter. He's not a politician. What he is a problem solver. If it just takes duct tape to fix it, he's going to just use duct tape. And I think the American people can appreciate that, the simplicity of that. It might be a little crass, it might be a little over the top, but nonetheless, it gets done. And I think that's where we are in this day and age, where everything has become so complicated. We want something that's simple and easy to understand, and I think President Trump, he does that. He does that very well. I think you pointed out, didn't you point out at one point about the water?
Oh, and the dishwasher?
About water, the simplicity of Okay, what'd you say?
Were you talking about the dishwasher comment?
Yeah, the dishwasher comment. Yeah, it was simple, wasn't it?
Right. Right. I was so shocked. I was like, how does he even know that, my dishes are not coming clean because of these water regulations?
Yeah. Simple solution. Duct tape solution. And so, for those who want something complicated and discombobulated, okay, fine. You can take that. But I want something very simple and easy so I can move on to the next thing. So I think Trump provides that, and I think when we get down to it, that's what people really want. I mean, the inside the Beltway, of course, they want complication. They want drama. What does it say? Politics is showbiz for the ugly. So, I mean, they want that stuff going on. But the American people, listen, they want it easily solved, real quick, and Trump provides that. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, yeah. Anything else?
I think that's all. We wanted to do our. You want to do the outro and the call to action?
Yeah. Do you want me to sing? You want me to do a rap song or whatever the case may be? No, listen.
Do your best Uncle Ruckus impersonation.
The Uncle Ruckus. Yeah, exactly. Did we play that yet?
No, we haven't yet. We haven't used that yet.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you coming up either tomorrow or Thursday or Friday.
That's a teaser for the next upcoming episodes.
It's our first celebrity. So that will be great. But I'll do the outro by saying, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you. We thank you once again for joining the Era of Reconstruction. The lovely hosts, AJ Swinson, Audrey Pruitt, he had to rush out. And me, your other host, Daren Williams, we appreciate it. And we ask that you would look up newjourneypack.org. Look at what we're doing. And, if you can, contribute to us. Your time and your energy, as well as your resources, are greatly valued. Like I said, we are sponsored by you, and we appreciate all that you do. And we look forward to servicing you by way of this podcast, by way of AJ's podcast coming up, and then being in your community very soon coming up the end of this year and next year. We're definitely making a push to win conservatism back into the hearts and minds of Black Americans and just Americans in general. Thank you once again for joining the Era of Reconstruction, and we will see you tomorrow.
Amen. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Please go to newjourneypack.org to support, to see our work. Go to maga.black, maga.women if you'd like to buy some merch. But thank you all. Bye-bye.
Uncle Ruckus again. No relation. This podcast is paid for by the New Journey PAC and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.